Welcome to the Mayhem. Dick and Lloyd Mayhem. Media Mayhem. Marketing a Mayhem. You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.
Hey, welcome in. Dick Wilson and Loy Edge back with you with more mayhem from the media and marketing world based out of Kansas City and places beyond. Today we talk with voiceover artist Jim Birdsall, who is a national voiceover artist based out of the Kansas City area. You've heard him on the Hallmark Hall of Fame, NFL Films, CNBC Network, all over the place. He's got some great stories about doing the business of talking out of a little booth to people all over the world. We're glad to... hang on a minute. Yes, hello?
Hey, champ, it's Buzz. Martini.
Oh, Buzz, yeah, the sales guy for our podcast. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm on the Ecliptical at the health club.
Oh.
Actually, at a new health club.
New? How come?
Well,
Yeah? What happened?
I don't know. A couple weeks ago, I was
Yeah.
coming in to work out, and
Okay. Yeah.
very nice gal pulls up.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I'm coming into the club. She's got a Jeep. It was
Yeah.
very nice. She had I'm a bicycle guy. I'm always wearing the bicycle pants,
Oh, yeah.
And well, she had a Jeep with it had the Yakima bicycle holder on the back.
Oh, those are good, yeah.
And I paid her a nice compliment. I told her I was impressed with her rack, and
Wait a minute.
the next thing I know, I'm getting a letter in the mail inviting me to join a different fitness club. So here I am.
Oh, boy. Oh, goodbye.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, hey, listen, champ, I got some good news. I finally got somebody to help underwrite this podcast.
Cool. I like that.
It's not advertising per se.
Underwrite.
It's product placement.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the listeners, they won't mind. They probably won't notice, but you just got to work these products into the podcast somehow. It's some opportunity.
Okay.
Sometime during the show.
I think
it's no
we
big
could
deal.
do
You
that.
just work it in.
Well, what are they? What?
Well, it's some health products. We got some hammer toe pads, stool softener,
Wait a minute.
an eye wash for dry socket.
Oh, God.
Some eczema ointment.
How are we going to do this?
And some hemorrhoidal suppositories.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, just work it in, champ. Okay?
Gee.
All right.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Yes. All right. Hey, Loy, I tell you what, let's get busy here because we got a busy guy that needs to do some things here.
Oh, yeah, we're in a busy place here. Jim Birdsall's studio.
Jim Birdsall, the second floor of what used to be Soundtrack.
That's right.
Isn't that something? Hey, good to see you.
Yes, and you.
You know, Loy more than I probably, we all kind of dabble in voiceover, but we're speaking to the godfather of voiceover
That's
here in the
right.
city right now. The man who came to town and made it happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people listening are going to recognize this voice when they hear it.
All right, well, let's do this,
Depends
Jim.
on what time of the day you're talking
Well,
about.
that's true, yes. Let's talk about what you've done and what you're doing now, because I've got a long list of all the network stuff and things like that. What do you remember that you've done?
Oh, my gosh. I don't think I can remember all of it. I know what
All right, let me
I
throw
know
a
what
few
I'm
out
doing
there.
now.
Let me throw a few out there. You tell me if it's still up and any members you have. CNBC Network.
Yes, I'm still the primary voice of CNBC.
Are you okay? That's
Worldwide.
Now more than ever, stay with CNBC. First in business, worldwide.
Good. The Hallmark Hall of Fame.
Now, Hallmark Hall of Fame finally stopped. A couple of years ago, I did it for 25 years.
Yeah,
I was
you
the
did,
voice
yes.
of the Hallmark Hall of Fame.
Welcome to tonight's presentation of the Hallmark Hall of Fame. Crossroads, a story of forgiveness.
Very cool, yes. NFL Films.
Still doing NFL films.
From plays that go bad to mascots gone wild.
I would like to do that.
Clever handshakes and not so peppy pep talks.
Is our line we're facing today?
This is the most super fantastic polys of the year.
What's the last team you did one on? Do you remember?
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs highlights. I did
you?
them
Okay.
a couple of weeks. a month ago.
Inside NASCAR.
No, that's no longer a show any longer, but I
was
did that
something,
for 2 or 3 years. If you went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
you would hear me in, half a dozen kiosks throughout the place.
Okay. All right. Cool. And WSM, home of the Grand Ole Opry.
I used to do those. I just ended a series of stuff with the WSM people here about 2 months ago.
Did you really? Yeah.
Which was a podcast of sorts. I was doing the radio for about 7 or 8 years, and then that stopped. You know, there's so much flux within radio and TV, as you very well know.
But it comes and goes. It sure does. What are you up to now? Anything new that we don't know about yet?
I do a lot of college football now. I've been narrating a weekly show on the SEC network, which is Southeastern Conference, for football, and that's a weekly show. There's 14 teams. So they highlight a team every week, and then championship games, and etc. And then there's a short break, and then I do basketball for the SEC, and also softball, baseball.
And what is your secret for keeping away from a cold in your voice?
Well, there's no secret.
No.
As you very well know, you catch a cold in our industry, and everyone says, "Man, you sound great. You sound wonderful." Because, of course, and then
especially with those Birdsall pipes. I've got to tell a story here pretty soon about that.
Right,
At any rate, you build a donut, as you well know. A donut is you leave a hole in the middle to fill in later in a piece of copy, and if you do it when you have a cold and then you try to match it when you're all of a sudden healed,
it doesn't work.
Doesn't happen.
Well, we're very proud of the work you've done here. You're a good part of this city and what we offer to people around the country. Now, let's get to the Mayhem part of the program. I'll turn that over to Loy.
Yeah, I do have one of those.
It always scares the hell out of me when you start telling stories.
How do you guys know each other?
Well, he was a sound-alike.
Okay.
He would do the Honda. Was it a Honda thing when you?
Oh, and I was doing the lounge singer.
Right, the lounge singer.
Yeah, I was Frank Ancona's lounge singer.
That's it.
In the service lounge.
Right.
That campaign ran forever. That was Mike Fasoni's idea, and so people would say to Birdsall, were you doing some weird character?
That's right.
I think a lot of people are familiar with your work in theater here in town.
Yeah, I did. I came here originally to work in Missouri Rep for Pat McElrath. And throughout the 80s and early 90s, I did about 50 shows at Missouri Repertory Theater at the time. Through Pat McElrath's tenure, and then George Keithley, who was the artistic director after she retired. So that's basically how I got here. And then I started doing some voice work on the side, as most actors try to do, just to make a little extra cash. Because even though you're working at the best and biggest theater in the city, you're still making no money.
Yeah.
It's the curse of the arts. And I remember when I got my earnings statement from AFTRA and SAG telling me how much I had earned the past year, and I didn't remember really doing that much. But I knew I was working 8 hours a day at the theater.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my earnings statement and I went, wait a minute.
The balance of time versus money.
This is not working. This is not working out at all. And so I actually, at that time, didn't even have a voice tape.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a demo. I was just working on producers in the city who were saying, well, we got this guy and use him. And
there was a lot of ad work going on
during
in
those
Kansas
days,
City.
as Dick will attest, this was a Bernstein Rain, Valentine Radford at the time.
And it was all, they didn't have to get on a plane and go record somebody elsewhere like you do now, where you can take anybody anywhere on the internet and get the voice. There was all Kansas City voices that were working and using.
Well, Dick Guthrie was the premier voice in the city, and he was the voice of Walmart from the onset of Walmart, from the very beginning, with Sam Walton and the family.
Yeah,
he was their voice. And I thought I was such a I'm a classically trained actor. You know, I can do anything.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was just the best, and I finally got booked for a Walmart session playing the father in a Father's Day commercial with this, and a 12-year-old boy that was playing my son, and Dick doing the announce. So the three of us are in. In fact, it was in soundtrack downstairs.
Okay, sure.
And Skip Rain was producing. So I'm kind of puffed up. I'm thinking I'm something. Dick has 20 seconds worth of copy. I have, I think, 2 lines like, well, son, what do you think? Something innocuous like that. And, okay, take 1. Dick nails his 20 seconds just like that. Kid nails his part. I mess up. It went on like this. I am starting to get really embarrassed, and I'm being stunned by this man that I really don't know with this great set of pipes, just nailing it one after another. Every take. Finally, he's starting to look at me like, come on. You know, I've got places to go.
I've got places to go.
I've got 7 or 8 more commercials to do today, and you're holding up the show.
Wow.
And so I went home. That day, I'll never forget. I went home, and I started practicing. I'd sit down with copy from magazines, print copy, and I would read it at different tempos, at different voices, at different characters, because what I did in the theater and how I always was hired was I was a character actor. So I was constantly changing my voice, changing accents, changing moods, changing tempo, pitching.
Yeah.
You know, so I was used to doing that, but I'd never really concentrated on, as you know, the trick is you're working with time all the time. It's time. And you're not trying
to... Shave
a
half second off that.
Shave a half second off that. Add another third on that. And you're playing it so that you're still sounding natural. You're still talking to a human being on the other end, because there's only one person listening.
Yeah.
And they're in their car, or they're at home, or wherever they are.
Sure.
Or sitting in front of the TV. It was eye-opening to me as I worked with myself. And then from that day on, every day I would practice. My wife would tease me. I'm sitting in the toilet, reading a magazine out loud, She's going, oh, my God, will you just stop?
And she's thankful that you didn't.
Yes,
I'm sure.
really.
Yes, very much so. That's cool. Talk to me about your daughters a little bit. I know they're very talented, singers,
and my son as
people.
well. They all three are unfortunately blessed with a lot of creativity. And my wife and I met on the USO tour in Europe. So we were both performers. This is right after I got out of Vietnam. I'd been out of Vietnam for about a year, 3 years. And my wife and I are, at any rate, we're touring there. So she's a singer, a dancer, and a musician as well. And so unfortunately, we blended those genes and created a bunch of singers and dancers who obviously, as your children are, suffering in the arts and working their butts off and making no money, but they make enough to get by, and I guess that's really the key in the arts. My daughter Megan is a pretty noted jazz singer in the city.
I'm a little jazz bird, and I'm telling you to be one too. For a little jazz bird is in heaven when she's singing blue.
And she also has a dance and theater school out in Blue Springs called Monarch Dance Academy and or Arts Academy, where they work with theater as well as music and primarily dance.
She's a very good entertainer. She's quite a vocalist.
Yeah, and she's a great vocalist, but she also, she had won the National Shakespeare Contest at Lincoln Center when she was 17.
Wow.
And then was offered Juilliard, but Juilliard only, you could do acting or you could do dance.
Okay. No combo thing.
No combos.
Yeah.
So she went to the Boston Conservatory and auditioned, which is a kind of a musical theater factory. But the beauty of that little place is that it happens to share space with the Berklee School of Music, which is the jazz school. They actually share space. And so she's doing that at the same time working with all these jazz players, these young jazz players, and so she kind of sidled over to them, and then came back to Kansas City and working with different players. It's you got to prove yourself. So that's what Megan did, and she's still doing that, not as much as she used to, because the dance academy, of course, takes a great deal of time. My daughter Rhiannon went to the Kansas City Art Institute, got her degree there as a painter and an artist, but all the time singing every night at different clubs and different places with duos and trios, etc. So she continued singing pop.
Start to follow, and there I'll stay.
And then she's now out in Los Angeles working as voiceover artist, dubbing right now and doing ADRs for different actresses, sound-alikes when they have to plug in for an actress that doesn't want to show up for their dubbing session.
Right, yeah.
So they find sound-alikes to do it. And also doing ad work, of course.
Yeah. And
that's what she's doing out there. My son, Cameron, is a kind of popular DJ here in the city. He got his degree in, always, a great degree to have to make money, English Lit at KU.
Okay, yes. They're lining up for jobs.
They're very much needed.
Yeah, well, he can write and read better than anyone. But he's a DJ and in the city here. And he and his partner, John, have been doing something for the last 4 or 5 years called Ass Jams, which are these great big shows that they would have out in Lawrence. Pack them in all night long. And
sounds like a place for Birdsall and Edge to show up one night.
Well, it gets a little late. They don't really get going until late. Okay. And all that heavy music. We're more into that kind of easy listening.
Gotcha, yeah.
Sinatra and stuff like that.
We're probably relegated to day drinking now. You really got to get to bed early.
We're done by 7.
It's 11:30. Where's the
bar? Was this this curse of the arts, was this in your family before you, or did you bring this curse upon your family?
I grew up in a town of 150 people out in the western part of North Dakota, a town called Gladstone. It's like Gladstone, Missouri. Okay. This is Gladstone, North Dakota. My dad ran the grain elevator there. I have 5 brothers and sisters that are older than I, and I'm the baby of the family. I just started playing the piano when I was young. I mean, my sisters all played. By the time I was 15, I was in a rock band, touring North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Canada.
What, did you have a Farfisa organ?
I sure did. It was my first one was a Farfisa.
Was it? Okay.
Then I got a Vox.
Oh, there you go. Your Vox.
And then I moved on up to a Hammond.
Oh, my. Okay.
And then I did that for about 12 years.
Wow.
I played in bands.
You and Felix Cavallari, huh?
But that saved my life in Vietnam, because I got drafted. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I was smart enough to become infantry. Mm-hmm. And so I was in the infantry for 3 months. And then my unit stood down. And in the interim, when I was being assigned to another unit in the 101st Airborne Division, I was at in Fubai at the administration center, where they have all your records and they kind of move you around. And I heard I had been playing the piano for the sergeant major that ran that Fubai every night.
Okay.
At the club. During those days, I could play anything because I'd been doing it since I was 7 years old, and been playing clubs and bars, etc. So I'm just playing down there. And that night, after about 3 nights, I was pretty tuned up. They serve liquor there.
Okay. I would imagine
and
so.
I kind of wandered over and I heard a band playing. And amazingly, they were playing Purple Haze.
Okay.
And I knew it was Americans playing because the pronunciation of the words, etc. I could just tell it wasn't. The Vietnamese bands would learn songs by rote. They wouldn't necessarily understand the words, but they were very good. And so I wandered over this bandshell, and here are these GIs playing. I was stunned. I'd never seen a GIs playing in a rock band, and, you know, and they didn't have a keyboard player. And of course, I staggered up to the stage saying, "Hey, I can play the piano," you know. And they said, "Well, sure, if you can come out to Camp Eagle and audition." Well, Camp Eagle's 30 miles away, you know. You don't like just hop
Hop
over
in the car and head on through Vietnam.
No, I mean,
Hold my rifle.
Here, hold this.
well, they didn't know is that I did know the top sergeant at the place, and I went to him bright and early in the morning, and I said, "Hey, Top, I can audition for the band if I can get to Camp Eagle." He says, "A convoy's going there right now. Jump in the back."
Ah, okay.
And I jumped in the back of that truck, showed up, and scared the bejesus out of him. I found out later, because a grunt, these are bandsmen. You know, they have their names on their uniforms, and they're starched up, and their shoes are shined, and etc. I'm wearing grunt clothes that I've had for maybe a week and a half that haven't been washed. There's no name tag on anything. The sleeves have been cut off. Long hair. I've got beads and crap all over me, and I'm carrying a weapon. You know, it's just, I walk in, I said, "Here I am, I'm ready to audition." And they went, "Okay, here's a keyboard." So they found out that, I could play, and they had lost their lead singer, and I could sing, so I was
Cool.
So I got into the 101st Airborne Rock Band for the last 8 months of my tour of duty there.
Wow.
And then I entertained troops for the rest of the time.
That may have saved your bacon somewhat.
Oh, you think?
So the lesson there is learn how to play the piano.
You bet.
Yes.
The arts.
It might save your life.
It might save your life. Absolutely. Absolutely. In my case, it did.
Cool.
Wow.
Man.
Well, we're sure glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
One thing I remember you did here, what was this, 4th of July?
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day.
Yeah,
down
celebration at the station.
You were
with the
a narrator there on stage. Saw that on
I've done
Channel
that
19.
I've done that for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something I'm honored to do. It is for the troops. It is for those who have served and are still serving, and it's important to me, particularly for veterans that are coming back from the Middle East and Afghanistan that are, it's rough. People forget the effect that war has on any soldier or sailor or airman. I mean, it's tragic what happens to some of them and many of them. I myself, even after years of being kind of strange at different times, my wife finally convinced me to go in, and I spent 6 years in analysis just for myself, and it was a good 15, 20 years after I had served.
Deeply suppressed.
PTSD is just it hangs in you, and it doesn't really leave.
And we who haven't been touched by that sometimes wonder, well, what is this? I mean, what happened to you? What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean,
If
they don't understand.
Those who have suffered assaults, have suffered women who have been raped. I mean, if you've ever been in a horrible fight, if you've been those who would back in the 80s when the Hyatt collapsed, you talk to the survivors there, and they all had PTSD from it. I mean, anytime you're in a situation that pushes that adrenaline to a level that is beyond you, and you're experiencing a situation, even though you're trained, even though you have gone in, for servicemen who have been trained and deal with it, it's still the after effects, not while it's happening. It's back when you're finally at home.
Yeah.
And then you're safe. But
Sure.
Then it shows up.
Wow. Yeah.
Because of what it does to your wiring.
Yeah. And it changes everything.
It's that fight or flight.
Yeah, and it hits you. I used to have special moments where I'd be wandering around the house in the middle of the night, convinced that there's people out there in the backyard.
Okay.
I don't even have a weapon. I don't keep a weapon in my home. Nothing. I don't even want one.
Yeah.
Oh, what a strange thing to be talking about.
Well, no, it's we're
right.
here to find out
Wait a
about
minute!
you.
I used to do Walmart. I
that's
was
a
the
part of
voice
you.
of.
Yes.
I was the original voice of Blockbuster Video for many
There you
years.
go.
I remember that.
I did Walmart after Dick left. I was the voice of Walmart
Oh, yeah.
for a long
Yeah,
time.
sure. Yeah.
Let's see what else I've done.
I remember
tons.
one. I booked or I was on hold for a deal, and I was leaving L.A. to come back to Kansas City.
CC's Pizza.
That's right. And they said, well, Loy, you're on hold for this. And I said, but I got to go back to Kansas City, so I'm going to have to record it somewhere in Kansas City. I called Jim and said, Jim, I think I called you and said, hey, I'm going to need to record this client if I get it. And by the time I got out here, they had changed their mind. They selected another voice to do their campaign. It was Birdsall.
Oh, was it? Okay.
That thing ran for a few years, too.
Oh, yeah, for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
it was a good
Radio
one.
and TV. It was a great gig.
Oh,
it really
yeah.
was. It was a great gig.
Man, I hate you for that.
Listen, I audition to this day. Dick, you will know this. I mean, you in the voice business, you're always auditioning. You're just auditioning. You're just throwing it out there. You're like a
No feedback.
And
you
you
have
never
no
know.
idea.
You never know if you
Was
were
I the
close or
second
not.
choice,
Yeah.
or was I?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
did they throw it away and go, God, that sucks?
Yeah, really. And you have no idea.
No
It's
feedback.
just like selling encyclopedias.
Yeah.
You might get
Yeah.
lucky. That's about it.
Hey, Dick, let's go down and get a drink, man.
Yeah, sounds good. Birdsall just ran down the hall. Maybe he's recording a commercial for Acme Hammer Toe Pads. Hey, look, it's Leon.
Music maestro, please. All the folks at the city hall tell us that we're getting so dang close to being better than Cincinnati, Cleveland, or Milwaukee, I suppose. Now it used to be bigger than Dallas, back when Kennedy was president. And we'll be littler than Denver, Colorado, till every dollar's spent. Somebody's gonna pay for Kansas City, gonna have to pay to make it great. Not you, not me, but the man behind the tree, so brother, just you wait. We're gonna have a brand new airport, shiny as a silver spoon, and a streetcar made of solid gold, gonna take us to the moon. We got a Negro Leagues and a jazz museum, both one of a kind, on a plywood cutout boulevard that's propped up from behind. We got a nightlife area that's all unique, where you can grab a tax-abated beer. And it's not like the other ones in every other town, 'cause it happens to be here. And now we're gonna have a grand hotel, so folks will have a place to sleep. They can lay their heads on tax-free beds and count the local sheep. We need a star bond and a TIF deal and an enterprise zone to boot. And if that don't fix our wagon, we'll just vote ourselves more loot. Well, who's gonna pay for Kansas City? It ain't cheap to be so great. Not you, not me, but the man behind the tree. So brother, just you wait.
Okay, Birdsall's back from that recording session.
You got together with a bunch of other talented voice people and
Yeah. Oh,
created
started Voices Inc.
your
yeah.
own
Yeah, John
agency
Jessup
here.
and I and Roberta Solomon, Max
Drew in
Graham, Max Graham, Drew Dimmel,
Some great folks.
Merle Moore's.
Yeah, the
Outside
the
there,
posters on the wall. I saw that.
A
Yeah.
poster on the wall. Yeah, there were the Gary Neal Johnson,
That's
Star Anderson.
Oh yeah, Star too.
Janine Hutchins.
Was Rick in there, Tamlin?
And Rick
Yeah,
Tamlin.
yeah.
But we had a great group.
Boy, I didn't know you had that many.
Yeah, and what happened was
well, they were the first level. Then they opened it up to the rest of us plebes in town to join in with them. So
well, that was when I left.
Yeah, okay.
No, it really was.
Was it okay?
Well, I was it was set up as a co-op.
Yeah.
It was a totally socialist sort of thing, which was good. Basically, we hired a person to answer the phone and write down the booking, and then we would charge 10% for voices
Right.
for the company. And basically, you're served by basis on how much work you do. I mean, you're going to get, it doesn't matter, it all goes into one pot.
Okay, gotcha.
And then that pays for promotions and the office and the phone and the end of year party, which was always great. And that's what it was. It was set up that way.
And Voices and still continues today.
Yeah, Voices and continues
I work
today.
with them, so yeah.
Right, but
Vicky.
but Voices, yeah, Vicky Evans. She was our first telephone person. And
When was that? Do you remember?
Yeah, 86, and I left 98, I think it was. Yeah,
Okay.
because once I started with CNBC, William Morris got a hold of me and said we want to.
I was going to ask you, which was the job that set you out on a national basis?
That was it.
That was that. Yeah.
A producer here in the city, Race Denton was his name. And I believe he's back in Kansas City now, and he produces videos.
That's a great name.
And he's a great guy too. And he did an industrial for Payless Cashways at the time, because I was the voice of Payless Cashways, which was national, all over the world. And so he disappeared. I didn't know where he went. And one day I'm sitting in the Voices office, which was right next door. And the phone rang. It was Race. And he said, Jim, I said, well, what are you doing, Race? I haven't seen you in a long time. He says, well, I'm the new vice president of promotions for CNBC. And we're looking for a new voice. And he says, and I thought, they keep coming up with these different people, and you have such a wide variety of things you can do. Could you want to send your demo to us just so we can take a listen to that? And so I'll present it to them. Sent it the next day. They hired me.
Wow.
The next day.
Okay.
They hired me for not much money. I didn't have an agent. I thought it was a pretty good deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I started doing it. I was changing my demo tape downstairs with Ron Ubel, as a matter of fact. And the phone rings. The girl who was answering the phone comes and says, Jim, there's a phone call for you out there. And I said, well, I'm busy right now. She said, it's William Morris Agency in New York. I said, oh, come on. She said, no. I pick up the phone. I said, okay, who the fuck is this? and it says, well, this is Mark Gus from William Morris Agency. I said, come on. No, really it is. He says, I said, really? He said, and so the conversation went like that. He says, well, we were wondering if you were represented by anyone right now. I said, well, basically represented by myself. He said, really? He says, well, could you send us a demo tape so we could listen? Maybe we could work together. So I send off the demo tape to them. The next day I get a phone call from William Morris saying, first of all, we want to represent you. And second of all, let me tell you this. I checked with the West Coast. The West Coast thought you were an East Coast talent. We all thought you were a West Coast talent. We know all your work because of Blockbuster and Walmart, etc. Where have you been? I said, Kansas City. He says, well, we would like to represent you. So I said, fine. So I send him my contract for CNBC. He says, I get a phone call. He says, oh, this won't do. This won't do at all. He says, we'll have to work this out the next time it comes up. and I have been blessed to work with CNBC ever since. And they are a great group of people to work with. I have incredibly talented writers and producers there, and really good people. And some of the smartest people I've ever known. I mean, you can't do the business stuff without having a serious brain on you. You just can't. I mean, these are smarties. And
Well, it's been a great client. So,
yeah.
How many years for you?
20.
And then, so with William Morris, you're 18?
Yeah, 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
Got 2 on me there.
Yeah.
I went out there in 2000.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very cool. Well, we're in the room with a couple of great voiceover people and another one who takes a shot at it every now and then,
right.
so.
Come
Right,
on.
Dick.
Give me a break, Dick. Jesus, you've been the king around here for years and years and years and years.
That's right. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows you. The people like Loy and I are, I mean, granted, you guys came up to my studio here. I never see anybody.
I'll bet not.
I don't.
Well, that's because people
don't-
like you can't go out in public without getting swamped by people who want autographs.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Uh-huh.
They don't
Yes.
even know who I am. Are you kidding?
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I know. It is the beauty of it. No one even knows who I am. They don't know what I do. I'm alone all day long. Everything I do is for people on not
Elsewhere,
here.
yes.
And
yeah.
there's many of them I know on my earphones. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, when someone asks me what I do, I say, well, I'm an announcer. Like when I buy a car or something, but they're asking what do you do for that? I'm an announcer. Oh, well, what radio station? I said, well, none.
Yeah.
TV? No,
Yeah.
I'm on the air.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it's just
There needs to be a new term invented.
And
yes.
then they say, well, how do you? If they get to the point where they say, what do you do? And I said, well, basically they send me stuff to read, and then I read it.
And then they pay me, and I
then
buy
they
a car
pay me,
with it.
And then everybody goes, "What a great job!" And it
Say
is.
something, an announcer.
Yeah,
say announcer.
say announcer thing.
I used to do tricks. I used to do parley tricks. Well, in Green Bay, my daughter, Rhiannon, who had graduated from the Kansas City Art Institute, went to the Milwaukee Institute for a year or two. I went up to visit her, and we went across the street from the hotel to the bar, which was Green Bay Packers and stuff. And so I'm sitting there, and I had done the history of the Green Bay Packers, and I had done the Green Bay Packers Visitors Center. So my talking like this was all over the place. It was so.
The year was 2000.
Right. In the fourth quarter, when so it's all over the place, and they're actually running it. And Rihanna goes, "That's my dad."
Oh, cool.
And the bar owner looks around and he says, "What?"
There he is now.
"Hi, honey. I'm being interviewed right now." Oh, so I'll call you back. Okay?
He's finally going to be famous.
All right. Bye-bye. Was my beautiful wife.
Oh, cool.
She is lovely.
So at any rate, we drank free all night long.
I'll have one more beer, please.
Yes. Lloyd, let's try to make an appointment to go to every sports bar in town with Jim here
absolutely.
in the evening and see if we can get some free booze going.
Yeah, but
You
then
might be sorry.
it's all loud, and then I have to lean into people's ears and go, when the Chiefs came out in the fourth quarter, there was little, it's that kind of stuff. The other thing I would do for older ladies would be to...
I got to pay attention to this.
Yeah.
When you care enough to send the very best.
Oh,
There you go.
Hallmark.
Yes.
oh my God.
So
Yes.
my sisters always liked that because they would
Yes.
watch, and my mother.
And the next question is, do you know where I could sell some Hallmark ornaments?
Yeah, right.
I got a bunch of them.
Those were great gigs. I never got to do one, but I've known several people that did the
voices of?
The voices
I've got a
of
couple hanging
ornaments
on my
of-
tree with
Yeah.
her. I think, yeah.
Those paid pretty well, didn't they?
I don't know, but I mean, I do have a couple of ornaments with familiar voices on them.
Yeah,
Yes.
I never got to do any of those. You'd think they'd have had me, but no.
Yeah.
I was relegated to the Hallmark Hall of Fame.
What's the strangest thing you ever did? Is there really a strange one that you remember?
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's one that's out there running right now. That's if you go on the internet and Google, it's the story of Forrest Tucker.
Oh,
really?
Yes.
Okay. Are you playing Forrest?
Wait a minute. Now,
Well,
does
they're talking
Milton
about-
Berle anyway come into this?
Yeah, they
story?
had a contest.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Toots Shor's.
And they,
I don't know anything about it.
In 1994, the movie Forrest Gump captured America's heart and imagination. In 1997, a new documentary about Hollywood's original Forrest, Forrest Tucker will have America in a forest frenzy all over again. Investigative reporters get today's hottest stars to reveal, for the first time ever, one of Hollywood's best-kept secrets about the man best known for his role as the gruff but lovable Sergeant O'Rourke on TV's F Troop.
Well, how does it go, Captain?
A secret so big that Tinseltown is still buzzing about it 10 years after Tucker's untimely death.
You know, Forrest Tucker was a big flirt.
I'm Forrest Tucker.
Did you hear the rumor?
No, what was the rumor?
How do I put this politely? Forrest Tucker was very, help me here.
Well built?
I'm Forrest Tucker.
No, more than that.
Well endowed?
I'm Forrest Tucker.
Forrest Tucker, as everyone in the universe knows, had one of the biggest schmeckies on the face of the earth.
Watch the video. I'm not going to sit here and talk about it.
Good.
Okay. But they have all these celebrities. It's all interviews with celebrities, and I'm narrating the story of Forrest Tucker.
That is fantastic.
But that was a strange one. I also have the Beer Pong Championship, which is out there somewhere. I've seen that a couple.
A recap of the season, or what?
No, it was they just did a whole 45-minute or half-hour show doing a beer pong championship with these characters, kind of based loosely as a kind of on NFL films. So I'm doing with the music and beer ponging, drinking, and doing all that.
Well, that's great. Jim, any other stories we're missing out on? Have we covered the Jim Birdsall story?
Well,
pretty good
I like to, I did a lot of theater here, and I still miss doing that.
What are some of the parts that you enjoyed? I just got off playing Wizard of Oz for Theater League.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Well, I did. I was in.
But that was it.
We've
now heard my resume.
That's it.
Okay. Now, how about you?
Well, I've worked at all the theaters. I mean, I've had good luck at all of them. I mean, some of my favorite roles.
What's the last thing you did?
The last thing
Unicorn?
I did was Red
Unicorn?
down at the Unicorn.
Yeah.
Where I played Rothko, Mark Rothko, the impressionist painter, and that was a two-person show, and that was great. It was a great show. It got to the point now when I do theater, and I don't do it any longer. Red was the last one, because I can only offer them evening rehearsals, about 4 hours.
Sure.
Because I'm booked all day long, as a matter of fact, and so I can't get anywhere until then. Now, I've been talking all day long, and then I go into theater, and that's a totally different push on your voice. It just killed me. So I end up only doing 2-character shows or 3-character shows. I mean, if you're doing a larger show, you need more than 4 hours rehearsal.
Sure. Yeah.
You just do. If you're just 2-3 characters, 4 hours, you can handle that. That's no problem. And we got a great talent base here in this city.
Now, when you were Orson, that was...
And that was at the Unicorn, too.
That was a heavy one on you, probably.
Orson was great. That was a great show. Of Mice and Men with Gary Neal Johnson years and years ago. That I enjoyed that show. Nicholas Nickleby back in the 80s. That was a great show to do.
Dick Brown was in that, I think, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't.
Was he not in
Dick
that one?
and I did the Foreigner together at the Dinner Theater years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it got to the point where Dick and I literally could not look at each other in one scene. Because if we made eye contact, we both start laughing. So and I was playing the villain in that piece. So I was talking like this all the time, I was looking at Dick, and I just couldn't look at him. I look at him very long. I start laughing, and then everything go down the drain. Because I was this cracker that was just mean and nasty. We had a great time together, Dick and I. It was one of the, I still consider one of the finest actors that Kansas City's ever produced.
Good guy. Yeah, funny guy.
Yep.
How about Pat with the Rep?
Pat McElrath?
What's your memories on Pat?
She was the reason that I think I exist. I came here from Detroit. I had finished my master's degree at the Hillberry at Wayne State University, which is a conservatory. And Mark Robbins, an actor here in the city, and I and Cynthia Dozier and Jeff Beecham. Well, those 3 people were down here. in Kansas City. Cynthia was working at the Rep in Hamlet, I believe, in summer of 1979. I got a call from Mark Robbins, who was down visiting Cynthia, which was his girlfriend at the time, and he says, Birdsall, get your butt down here and audition for the Missouri Repertory Theater. All their character actors have all left to go to the Cleveland Playhouse. There was an opening for character actors. So I flew down there. I borrowed the money to fly down to Kansas City, and I auditioned for Pat McElrath. It was just Pat and I in the theater. The theater had just opened that summer, the theater that exists today. And I'm up on the stage, and I did, I think, a piece from Peer Gynt, Dylan Thomas piece. What was my Shakespeare? Capulet from R&J, and a couple other pieces. And then she asked me to do some other things if I had anything that I could do. And I had been doing at the Hillberry. We would do 8 shows in Rep. So I'd been playing bottom. I'd played dozens of roles. Mm-hmm. So I had it all in there. At that time, I could remember things. And we finished up, and then we went up to her office, and she says, well, I said, Dr. McElrath, I said, I have a wife and a small daughter that's 7 months old. I'll move here. I said, I'll work for you, and I'll never come in here to your office again and demand anything. I just need work as an actor. And you know that she said, well, thank you. And that was it. About 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from Pat McElrath. I was offered Malvolio in Twelfth Night, Tarkington in Look Homeward Angel, The Gravedigger in Hamlet, and those are the 3 shows that there was 4 shows up. Those are the 3 shows I was going to do in Rep. And I came down here, and she cast me in every season after that. Mm-hmm. Every single season. Yeah. I never went in and asked for a role or asked for anything. I held up my end of the bargain, and she did too. And after 3 or 4 years, people were just calling me I was the core company.
Wow.
Okay.
Because I was always hired. And I bless her always, because she allowed me to establish myself here in Kansas City and raise a family. And without Pat McElrath, I know I would not be here today. It really is, if I think back, she's the reason for a great deal of my success, not only casting me in numerous and a variety of roles, which allowed me to grow as an actor and as a performer, but also allowing me to establish myself as a human being here in Kansas City. And it was a blessing. And after she retired and I would do shows other places, she always came to those shows, and she was always there because I was one of her boys.
Wow, what a great, great person.
Dick was one of her boys. I became one of her people.
Very cool.
And it was a blessing to work with her. And the reason we have theater in this city, the dinner theaters, the Unicorn, the Kansas City Actors Theater, every theater here is a result of their connection to Pat McElrath, because every one of the people that started those theaters, that are directing there, that own them, all came out of...
That was the epicenter, yes.
She created those people.
Yes. I just thank her, Pat, for waiting 3 weeks to call you, because if you'd said she called you the next day, I was going to get real depressed, because that's what we've heard so far.
I love the way she let you twist in the wind for 3 weeks.
Well, that's what you do it's good to do that to an actor. We're so desperate to please.
Yeah.
Oh, hire me, please. Oh, Grace, hire me. I'll do it. I'll do anything.
Jim Birdsall, this has been a great chat.
Yes, Jim.
We appreciate that. We appreciate that, and good luck to you, and many more good things coming your way.
You bet. Thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure talking with both of you, because you're 2 people that I do admire, and I don't know why.
We're trying to figure it out, too.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, listen to this, Dick. I've been listening to you on the radio for years and years and years and years.
Well, 46 years I was on here in town. So
I know.
Yes, and you're not much older than that. So.
And Loy and I just have a kind of good, bad relationship. In fact, the last time Loy and I saw each other, was with Bill.
Oh, that's right.
And
that's right.
We got lost out in southern Johnson County because we were a little tipsy.
That's right. Our good friend,
the
late William Bigger.
Yeah. Well, gosh, there's always something beverage in your guys' story.
Why is that?
I don't know. I blame you, and you can blame me, so I think it works out perfectly.
All right, well, let's go get a beer.
All right.
All right. Well, there he goes, off down the hall again to record another program or commercial. I auditioned the other day for a client, Jergens Hemorrhoidal Suppositories, but I don't think I got him. The job, that is. Whoa, hold it right there. Yes, hello?
Hey, Dick, Tony Labruzzo, second base coach for the Kansas City Royals.
Oh, Tony, how you doing?
Yeah, Dick, I can't lie to you. You know, it hasn't been very good.
Well, yeah.
We're still having a lot of trouble struggling with the W category, but...
of course, well...
Hey, I got some ideas I think might help out, and in a way that you and Loy can help us out, too.
We can help you? Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, We got a new float that we're gonna run through the infield after we win a game.
Okay, a float. Okay.
We got one of the George Thomas trucks. We kind of built it up as the W float.
Okay.
And we call it In the Chips. We got a lot of winning casino chips from all the different casinos piled on there.
Okay.
And we're gonna sit there. On top of these chips on this wagon in the Royals championship uniform, waving at the fans so they can, applaud and celebrate winning.
Well, I kind of get that. How can we help?
Yeah, well, there are winners and losers. That's kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about.
All right.
We got to acknowledge the losses as well. So what I was thinking is we could dress you and Loy up in some old Kansas City A's uniforms. And bring you out to the infield after a loss.
Yeah.
And we could throw you both into an ass-plunk wood chipper.
What?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could only do it once, but think about it. What a great show.
A wood chipper?
Some for the kids.
Oh, boy. Hey, thanks to Jim Birdsall for spending some time with us today. Jim, do you have any final comments about Dick and Loy's Media and Marketing Mayhem show?
So lower your expectations, and please don't try this at home.
You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.